Hi guys, my name's Shaun, I'm from Square One Physiotherapy in Mosman. I'm here today with my colleague Susan, and we're here to take you through a full body workout. So the first part of the session is going to be focused primarily on mobility, so just starting to get the body moving, coupled with some activation exercises to really prime the muscles to get them ready for the main circuit. And then what we're going to do is go through 5 different exercises. We're going to repeat it 3 times through, and we're going to work through 8 repetitions of each exercise as well. And this is going to be a full body workout, so we're going to be doing those 5 exercises to really challenge different aspects of the body. And then we're going to spend the last part of the session just working through more of a cool down to just get the heart rate back under control. Okay, so the first things first, we're going to start to go through our mobility stroke activation exercises. So Susan here is going to start in a 4-point kneeling position, and she's going to be down in this position here, and from here what we're going to start to do is really just open out through the adductors. So Susan's going to place one leg to the side, and from here she's going to lock the low back in and just drop back into that adductor stretch. And she's going to repeat that 3 times through. Okay, so if you're at home, just take your time. You're going to hold it for the count of 3 at the bottom, and then coming back up. And she's going to do that one more time. So Susan should start to feel a stretch through her lats, but as I said, also coming down through the right hip as well. So we're now going to change sides, and Susan's going to bring the leg across there, good, and she's going to do the same thing again, just dropping down really into the stretch, coming back up, good, and then same thing again there, so really just dropping down through into the stretch there, and back up, and again, and then coming back up and through. So now she's going to change sides, and we're going to do the same thing, so taking the right leg out to the side again, and we're going to just go back down, so stretch through, and now Susan's going to reach with her right hand underneath her body and go into just a stretch through. That's it. So coming down, dropping the hips down again, good, and just stretching through there, good, and coming back out, and again same thing, so just same side. So now we're starting to bring in the adductor stretch, but also just rotating through the thoracic spine as well to really open up the middle part of the back. Great job, okay, and now we're going to change sides, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So taking the leg out to the side, dropping into the stretch, that's it, good, and rotating. You can see there that Susan's just really turning through the trunk. Whilst being in this position, you're locking the low back in, so the movement is not necessarily coming through the low back, okay? And last one. Fantastic. So that exercise is to work the mobility of the muscles in the leg, but also the trunk. Now Susan's going to come up into a plank position. So she's going to just be on her hands and feet there. She's going to keep her low back completely locked in. She's going to just imagine that she can balance a cup of water on her low back. And from there you can see now she's going into what we call a scat push-up. So the elbows are staying completely straight. We're going to do 6 repetitions of this in total. She's coming down, dropping through. She's lifting back up and keeping her chest proud, whilst also maintaining the low back in a straight, flat position. Great stuff, okay? Now she's going to come back onto her knees. And now we're going to, for that exercise, it was more focused on activating the upper body. We're now going to go into activating the posterior chain, so through the glutes, through the shoulders. We're going to go back into that 4-point kneeling position, and we're going to go do opposite arm, so extend the opposite arm and the opposite leg. So sometimes this is called a bird dog position, whilst keeping the low back maintained. We're going to stick with the one side. We're going to do 6 repetitions of that before we move over. So you can see there that Susan's keeping the leg straight. She's engaging through the hip muscles, but also the upper body, whilst priming the left shoulder as she maintains that position. And take your time, hold it for a few seconds while you're doing it as well. Okay, good. Okay, so we're now change sides, we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so keep that back locked in, don't arch or collapse through the low back. Take the weight through the shoulder and extend through the leg as well there. So you're really getting the glutes firing, getting the posterior chain working quite nicely. Keep the spine as long as possible when you're doing it as well there. That's great stuff. Okay. So once you finish with that, we're now going to come into what we call a half kneeling position. So Susan's going to bring her right leg forwards and just go in. Perfect. Now in that position, you're going to keep the pelvis in the centre position of the back there. And what we're going to do now with your left arm is you're going to raise that left arm just up in front of us. Good. Okay. Whilst coming through into this position here. And then we're going to come back out of there. So coming back down whilst we bring the arm down. Good. And again, so same thing, raising up. Going to stretch through the hip flexors, but also extend through the thoracic spine as well, and then come back in. Okay, we're going to do just 3 more of those on this side. So coming up, good, and back down. Okay, this is more of a dynamic stretch to really loosen up the hip flexors at the front. You're working on the stability around the pelvis because you're in that split kneeling position, and also now we're extending through the trunk. So on this repetition, now Susan's going to come down, but now she's going to go across the body, and then she's going to now rotate away. Good. Now we're opening up the thoracic spine that bit more. Great stuff. And then coming back to the perfect, and then coming back to the starting position, same thing. So arm up, coming down across the opposite leg, rotating through the trunk, and opening up the thoracic spine. And we're going to repeat that one more time, okay? So coming up, good, hold it for a couple of seconds, come down, across the body, and reach across there. Great stuff, okay? Whilst keeping the headlights facing forwards, the hips in line, okay? So we're going to change sides after this repetition. Good. Work through, and there. Okay, so now let's change sides. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So left leg forwards, okay? Just not too far first of all there, so coming back into that position, coming up with the arm there, good. Okay, we're just going to do 6 repetitions coming back down. As you said, more of a dynamic stretch there, just working through, good. Opening out the hips, good. And back in. No need to push the hips too far when you're doing it, just take yourself down there, that's great, okay. And now on this repetition, we're going to go up, and we're going to go across the body now as well. So there, and then the arm away, good, rotating through, good job, yeah. And back in, okay. So same thing coming up, good, cross the body, rotating through the trunk there as well, good. Okay, last one. Good. And back in. Okay, so from this position now, Susan's going to bring her right foot forwards, and we're going to come down into what we call a sumo squat position. So just in this position here, and we're going to do 3 repetitions extending up, taking the arms up, okay, coming back down, up, take your time, slow it down again. This is just to prime the lower body, but also working on the thoracic or the upper back extension. Great stuff, well done, excellent guys. Okay, so now we're going to get going within the main set itself. As I said, we're going to do 5 different exercises, okay? So Susie, if you could pop yourself off there and I'll give you a demonstration first of all. So the first exercises that we're going to do is similar to what we did last time for part of the warm-up. So the first variation is going to be working on our scat push-ups. So we're going to do 8 repetitions, coming up, coming back down. Again, keep the low back engaged, don't sag through the back. Okay, raising up and down through here. Second exercise, and we're going to do some variations of a glute bridge, but first part is being in this position, arms by our side, heels down, driving up, okay, making sure that we don't overextend through the low back. We're then going to go into the third exercise, which is going to be a variation of a push-up, and we'll start with a modified push-up, coming through, down, back up, okay, working through here. All right, then the fourth exercise that we're going to go through is a what we call a Russian twist. So essentially we're going to be in this position, we're going to lock the shoulders in, okay, and we're going to come through into this position, okay. And then the fifth exercise that we're going to work through is going to be just a split squat variation. So coming into this position, okay, coming down, driving through, okay. And again, we're going to work on 8 repetitions each side as we do it, okay. I'm going to grab a band here for Susan to use when she's using the Russian twists as well, and that band will enable her to just lock the shoulders in, as she's twisting through the movement. Okay, so we're going to start off with our scat push-up first of all. So Susan's going to go down. That's it, good. We're going to be in that tall plank position, and we're going to just work through 8 repetitions coming through. Okay, so coming up, good. 2, good. I'll let you count the reps, I'll talk through. So you can see here Susan's keeping her core engaged, she's keeping her spine long, and she just needs to lift up a little bit harder just through the hips there as well, just to not let the low back sag, okay? Good job, okay? So now we're going to go into our glute bridge position. So Susan's going to spin herself around, okay? Now key thing is driving with the heels as you do this, okay? So pushing through the heels, holding for the count of 3 at the top there, and coming back down. And again, notice with Susan that she's not overextending through the low back as she does it. The movement is pretty much coming through the hips, through the hip extensors there. Okay, so this is a great exercise for both hamstring, but also gluteal activation as we're doing it there as well. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to go back into our plank position. As I said, we're doing a modified push-up now, so we can make this harder by taking the knees off, but we're going to stay with the knees in that position first of all. You're going to cross the legs, again you're going to keep the low back engaged, and you're going to come down and push back up. Now the key thing is with a push-up is making sure that you've got the right level for your ability. So you can see with Susan that she's taken herself through her entire range of motion through the shoulders. She's not doing a shortened push-up, which sometimes if the exercise is too advanced, you limit that range of motion. Again, she's keeping her back really straight and engaged as she does this movement pattern. Good job, okay? So, and now Susan's going to work into the Russian twist. So she's going to use the bands here. So guys at home, if you have a towel or something like that, she's arms straight. The scapula are going to be flush against the chest wall, so she's going to bring it back. Feet a bit closer together there, good. And then just simply working through. So with Susan, she needs to just bring her legs a little bit closer together there to make it harder. So that's it, good. And coming through. So the closer you have the knees, the harder it's going to be. And also what you want to do is make sure that you're not counter-rotating through the legs there to compensate for the upper body. You want the movement really to be coming through the trunk. Shoulder blades flush against the chest wall as we're doing that as well. And we're going to work through, when we're doing this, 8 reps, so 1 rotation is going to be considered 1 repetition as well. Good, keep your back straight, don't lose it through the low back when you're doing the movement pattern. Good job. Okay, perfect guys, so now we're going to get up onto our feet, and we're going to go through that split squat position as well. So with Susan, we'll start with the left leg forward, so into that position there, so just there, good, and then coming through, okay? So we're going to be here, and then using those arms as well to pump ourselves forwards, good, and then coming back. Again, key thing is with the split squat, is that we need to make sure that we're not collapsing in at the knee at all. We're going to just flex a little bit more through the trunk as well as if we're a sprinter, just sprinting out of the blocks as well as we go down. Good, and we're going to keep the pelvis aligned, okay? So just 8 repetitions each side, okay? We'll work through the one side, and then we'll change it alternating, coming through to the other side. And that's again Susan just keeping that back straight, she's doing really well there. Good job, okay? So guys, round 1, fantastic. Take on some water. We're going to get going again with round 2 in about 30 seconds. We're just going to give you some progressions now of different things that you can do within round 2. So we're going to mix the exercises up a tiny bit. So again, the first one that we're going to do is we're going to start back off with our plank again. So we're going to do our scat push-up. So Susan's going to start here. But what we're going to do in this position is we're going to see whether we can just lift one leg up. So for 4 repetitions, we're going to reduce the base of support. Again, you don't have to do this, but it's a slight variation coming up and back down. Again, the key thing is making sure that we keep that low back engaged and the movement should still be coming through the scapula or the shoulder blades and not through the elbows. So we don't want those elbows to bend. So Susan's doing really well at keeping herself locked in there and then just working through the shoulder blades as well. And this is just making it harder by one, reducing the base of support there, but also engaging the glute as well. Well done, Susan, excellent stuff. Okay, now next exercise is going to be back onto our glute bridge, but we're going to start to do this with more of a tempo as well. So we're going to be on the heels, okay, driving up, okay, and then we're going to do a 3-second hold, and then slowly coming back down, okay? So a really easy way to just increase the intensity of the exercise when you're doing this at home, even if you don't have any equipment, is just holding that contraction for longer. And you're going to start to fatigue and feel more of a burn within the muscles, which is a good thing. So again, if you struggle a bit with that, go back to the original one, but now we're just starting to just hold it that little bit longer and making it more challenging. Notice that with Susan as well, she's not rocking through the hips at all. So her core's working hard and she's just simply coming up and coming back down there as well, okay? Good job, okay? So now we're going to go into the push-up. So Susan's going to stay with doing the push-up on the knees. Okay, but there are some variations of this. You could go into a standard push-up. What we're going to ask Susan to do now is go with a 3-second hold. So just onto the knees there. Yeah, so on the knees. But we're going to create a tempo for this. So now if we go down again, we're going to hold for 3 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and pushing up through. Okay, so again, if you're not good enough at this point in time or strong enough to do the full push-up, you can still do the one on the knees, but by making it harder, holding it for 3 seconds as well. Good. Again, with Susan, you can see that her core isn't dropping in. Her low back is staying relatively straight. Her upper back is remaining flat. Her spine is long. And what you can also see is she's not rocking too much. Sometimes initially clients rock forward to come back. She's going directly down and coming back up through the movement pattern as well. Yeah, you done your own? Yep. Good job. Okay, so now we're going to go back into our Russian twist. Okay, there are some variations of the Russian twist that you can start to do. Now you can make it more difficult by raising the feet up. We're going to stick with our current variation at the moment. I'm just going to ask Susan to bring her feet a little bit closer together and the knees closer together as well to make it that bit harder still. She's going to keep that back flat. Good, shoulder blades against the chest wall a little bit more. There we go, sitting back into it. And she's going to work through, okay? Keep it very much rotated. This is a great exercise, again, if you're, say, a paddleboarder, you play sort of racket-based sports where you need to transfer load through the lower body to the upper body. Again, having that strong core, both in sort of a frontal plane but also rotational, is really beneficial, okay? As I said, to make this harder as a progression, you can start to raise the legs up, but I think for Susan, this is the right level at this point in time. Again, the other key thing is Susan's not shifting at all through the hips. Okay, as you start to fatigue, you may notice that again you're moving the legs a bit more. Keep the movement true to the core and the upper body when we're doing the rotation. Good job. Yeah. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is go back into our split squat position, and again to just make this little bit harder this time round, so we're going to hold this in a tempo. So we're going to do that 3-second tempo again, and coming back in. Again, try not to overstride when you're doing it. Yeah, keep the knees aligned, keep the knee going down over the toe. Don't allow the hip to drop in at all. Keep the back straight. Okay, and remember that imagine that we're a sprinter getting ready to go off the blocks as well. So 3-second hold, coming back out there. So I'm just going to ask Susan to hold that a little bit more there, good, and back out, good. And again, holding tiny bit more, good, and back out. And again, this is going to challenge your stability through the hips as well. You don't want to be dropping down at all either side. You want to keep the pelvis aligned, and again, the core muscles engaged as we're doing the movement pattern as well. Good job, well done guys. So that's round 2 done. So we're going to do one final round, okay? Again, take on some water, give yourself a 30-second recovery period, and then we're going to go through the exercise again, okay? Now, with the plank position first of all, we can even make this a little bit more challenging if we wanted to. We could start to do a plank but raise one arm up as well. So I'll give you a slight demonstration of this as we're doing it, so we can be in this position. Okay, we can have our plank push up, and then we can start to just raise the arms up and doing the same thing. Okay, that's a variation of what we're going to do. I think, see, how do you feel about giving that a go? Yeah. So we'll give that a go, okay? So we're going to do one scap push up into raising the arms and just alternating, changing side. That's great stuff. Perfect. So Susan's doing it really, really well, okay? Try to, when you're at home, don't shift the pelvis at all when we're doing it, okay? Try and keep the core muscles engaged, keep the movement pattern to the shoulders itself, and don't counteract the movement through the trunk as well. Good. Now, as you tire and as you fatigue, if you find that you're losing your form, then you can simply just revert back to one of the previous variations of this exercise that we did. You can go back to your standard plank push-up, or you can simply just go back into raising the legs up as well. Again, really good for lengthening through the spine, working the posterior chain, whether that be the shoulders or also the hips as well. Great stuff. Okay, so good job. So now we're going to go back into our bridge, but this time we're going to do a slightly harder variation. It's going to be our single leg glute bridge. So what I'm going to ask Susan to do, we're going to work through the left side first of all. That's so other side there. That's great. She's going to hold on with both hands through to the right side. So the reason why we're asking you to do that is so you're locking in the low back, and the movement is simply coming through the hips. So just keep your hands on that leg there as well. That's great. And then coming back down. So we're going to work through 8 repetitions of one side, and then progress to the other one as well. Okay. So this is demanding much more of your core. So notice with Susan, she's keeping her low back completely flat there. She's not shifting at all. Either side. Sometimes you find that if you're weaker through the trunk, that you end up shifting through the hips to compensate. And also she's using her upper body as a pivot point as well as she does that. So this is really isolated now, as I said, to the glutes, but also the hamstring muscles as well. And we're changing sides. So we're really going to keep that knee locked in now, so keep it there, and she's driving up. So you can see that that first one on the right side was a little bit harder there. Okay, so we think that Susan may have had a previous sort of knee or hip injury, and she's got some residual muscle weakness there, but she's still doing really well. She's keeping her low back relatively flat. She's not arching through a lumbar spine or low back as she's doing it, and again she's keeping her shoulders on the floor as the pivot point as well, and she's not dropping the hips at all, which would give an indication that maybe we've got some gluteal muscle weakness there as well. Great stuff. Okay, so now we're going to go back into the push-up. So for Susan, we're going to progress. How do you feel about doing a full push-up? Yeah. So we'll give the full push-up a go. Again, for you guys at home, it may be that you can only get a few repetitions out of it, and then you may need to revert back. That's absolutely fine. So Susan again is doing really well there. She's taken herself through that entire range of motion. So again, this is a good level for her. You can see she's working that bit harder. She's still in keeping the low back. She's not dropping through the lumbar spine. She's keeping the core muscles engaged, and she's still demonstrating good form. She's looking down. She's keeping the spine as long as possible and as straight as possible. She's doing the movement pattern there as well.
That's great.
Good job. So now we're going to go back into our Russian twists. Okay. So again, we'll stick with the current variation of the Russian twist. Again, keeping the knees together, keeping the feet together, keeping the shoulder blades flush against the chest wall as we're doing the motion. Yeah. Okay, scapula back a little bit more, drop into it a tiny bit there you go. Okay, and now we're just going to rotate through, and again we're going to keep it very simple, going with one full cycle as one repetition. Okay, good. Again, this is really nice. So Susan isn't moving through her legs at all there to sort of counterbalance herself. She's keeping the movement pattern true to the trunk there. And again, her shoulders, her upper body are moving sort of in synergy together there as well as she's doing the motion. Yeah? As I said, an even harder progression could be for this, for either lifting the feet up or simply lifting the feet up and holding something like a water bottle between the legs. Or you can simply lift one foot up at a time, which again just reduces the base of support at the bottom there. Good job. Okay, and then final exercise is back onto doing our split squat there. So we're going to bring the leg forwards. We're going to keep it as a tempo hold as we do the movement. Okay, and then we're going to work through 8 repetitions, 3-second hold, coming back up. Good. Yep. Again, keeping the knee over the toe as we do it. Okay. Great, okay, putting a bit more weight through that front foot as well, good, and we're using those arms, we're keeping those arms really pumping, flexing through the elbows, keeping the back straight as we do the movement as well, okay? So we're on a wobble mat, or sort of a mat here, which creates a little bit more instability, which is just challenging Susan that bit more. Again, you could do that, you could use a cushion, a pillow at home or something like that, which again will just challenge the leg muscles, challenge your stability around your knee, but also around your pelvis as well. Okay. Great stuff, guys. Fantastic. Okay, so that's the main set over. So now we're just going to take some time, take some water if need be, and we're just going to focus on just slowing the heart rate down a bit, okay, and going through some stretches. So we've warmed the muscles up. This will be a great time for us to start to go through a few static stretches to really create more change in muscle length as well. So Susan's going to start with doing a hamstring stretch. So she's going to lie on her back. Head to, up this end. Okay, we're going to do the right leg first of all there. That's perfect. Okay, left leg straight. She's going to hold around the back of her thigh there. And so from here, what she's going to do is just bend the knee. Good. And then coming back up. And she's going to do 6 repetitions, pointing the toes towards her head. Okay, holding it for about 5 seconds there. Good. And then bending the knee again. And we're just going to work through that. So we're stretching the hamstring through the muscle belly here. Okay, and then coming back down. And again, you could repeat more repetitions if you want to at home as well when you're doing it. The key thing is when you're stretching as well is really making sure that you're breathing out as you do the stretch itself, okay? And that's just going to help to relax you and take that stretch a little bit further, okay? One more repetition, okay? And we'll change sides, okay? So we're going to pop the leg down and bring the other leg up, okay? So hands around the back of the leg and bring yourself up there. Now, with the leg that you've got down, you want to be placing that heel on the ground and trying to push through that heel as well as we do the movement pattern. We don't want the resting leg to rotate out to the side there, okay? And that's just going to help us with the alignment of the pelvis as we do the movement pattern there as well. Yeah. The hands there are just giving you a bit more support, and again it's that 3-second hold as we're doing the movement pattern. Okay, great stuff, alright. So Susan's now, once she's finished that, she's now going to roll onto her left side there. Okay, she's now going to bring the right leg over into this position here, and with the left foot, that's it, she's bringing herself back. So we're going to bring this leg over a little bit more. Susan again's got her arm out to the side. Okay, that's absolutely fantastic. So this is called a bretzel stretch. It's going to really stretch through the hip flexors and the quads on Susan's left leg there. And what you can do is also bring in more of a rotational stretch through the thoracic spine. So I'm going to ask Susan to breathe out and just rotate a little bit further there as she's doing that as well, while still keeping that knee on the ground. And then she's going to come back to that starting position, and again she's going to just rotate away. Good, stretching, okay, stretching through the upper back, stretching through the quadricep on that left hand side there. Great stuff, okay. And now we're going to change sides. So same position on the other side. Susan's going to come round, reach around, grab her right leg there. That's it, good, okay. And same thing, so she's going to find the stretch first of all, and then from there she's now just going to rotate away. That's it, you feel okay there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, if you're finding at home that it's even difficult to get the leg into this position, then you could use a rolled up towel or something like that. So I'm going to ask Susan to bring her left leg up a little bit more as she does it there as well. So flex your left knee. That's it. There you go, good. And then rotate away a bit more there as well. Good job. And again, focus on your breathing as you do it. Exhale, relax, work through the upper back as well. Good job, okay? So we've done 2 stretches for the lower body there. We're now just going to stretch out through the upper body, particularly our lats. Okay, so Susan's going to come into a child's pose, and she's going to drop down, she's going to flip the toes over there, drop onto her heels there, great stretch through there. Okay, and as she breathes out, I'm going to ask Susan to just walk her hands forward slightly, whilst keeping her low back and her hips down on her ankles there as well, okay? So, and she's just going to take that into just a bit more of an active stretch there, just walking the hands forwards as she breathes out, okay? And now we're really starting to get some length through the lats, but also just some extension through the upper part of the back there as well. And again, you can hold this stretch for a bit longer at home if need be, but again, focus on just slowing the heart rate down, slowing the breathing down as you're doing the stretching as well there. Fantastic, well done there, Susan. Okay, so we're going into standing position. Oh. Okay, right guys, well thank you very much for joining us. So as I said, this was a full body workout. It took us through initially some mobility based exercises, we then went into some activation exercises to prime the body, we then went into the circuit, and we finished with a stretching program. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.